Hello, everybody. This is Final Draft, and I'm here today with the stepfather of Michael Morones, Shannon Suttle. Hello, Shannon. And on behalf of myself and everybody at EFN, all of our condolences and sympathies towards your situation. I mean, it's just an absolute tragedy.
Well, thank you, and it's the outpouring of support, emotionally and spiritually that we've gotten from everyone inside the Brony community and other communities as well, and just all over has been unbelievable, and it makes dealing with this not easier, but it helps to kind of take a little bit of the bite out of it.
I imagine there really is no easy way to deal with this situation.
No, I've had people that have asked me, what can you do about that? I'm like, there is no user guide for a situation like this. There's no manual that you can turn to that says this is how you handle this type of situation. It's beyond words.
Yeah, I can't. I can't even imagine. I really can't. But I kind of wanted to speak with you because there have been some questions out there about more of the specifics of what happened, and so I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that, to ask these questions. And again, it's a difficult situation, but I think maybe with more public understanding of what happened, it can raise more awareness, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I kind of wanted to start on a lighter note and just ask, Michael is a brony, and I wanted to know, how did he get into the fandom, really?
His Uncle Jimmy is the one that's responsible for that, and we can't thank him enough. And, he idolizes his Uncle Jimmy, and he's the one that introduced him to My Little Pony. He's the one that got him into everything, and he really connected with Pinkie Pie, especially because Michael is ADHD, and the kid can't walk a straight line to save his life without dancing, the whole time. He can never sit still. And watching Pinkie Pie, bounce around and, just as, energetic and always full of movement and, a little, talking faster than the other ponies, Michael just really associated with that one as a character because it was like watching himself. But it was watching himself around other people that accepted and appreciated the personality that he had.
Well, and when he first started getting into, My Little Pony, I mean, as a parent, did that kind of confuse you? Is that something unexpected for you?
It didn't confuse me or be unexpected to me. But again, I've only been, myself and his mother have not even been married a year yet. We'll be married a year this May. And, we were dating, for a while before we got married, but my introduction to Michael, he was already a brony when I met him. And, I come from a background of being a reenactor and entertainer. I work with a group called the Shadow Players that do pirate sword fighting and comedy skits that, we go to different festivals and school groups and functions and teach about piracy and 18th century history. And before that, I was involved with, comic books and cosplayers and costume designers. So I come from not the brony community myself, but I come from, 12, 15 years of being a comic book nerd, being someone that was picked on in, middle school and high school for being different. I didn't think anything out there about Michael being a brony because I'd been in the same situation that he was in, and I accepted him because he was so proud of it, and it was, I honestly had been introduced to it by a college friend that I had ran into when I was at the Greenville Pirate Festival, that my hotel room had gotten double booked, and they were kind enough to let me stay at their house. And we watched a couple episodes that night, and this is back when the show first came out, when it had a really strong following in the beginning with college students. And we sat there and laughed, forever. With two grown men sitting there watching My Little Pony while his girlfriend's in the kitchen cleaning up from dinner and just laughing with us and kind of laughing more at us, I think, than anything, but in a good, jestful way where she's like, you guys are just nuts, but we were enjoying ourselves, and it was a way for us to bond and kind of let it all out, and we didn't have to worry about anybody judging us. But I'm also kind of accepted into that community already where people know me as a Ren geek. They know me as a pirate geek. They know me as a comic book geek. So for me, it was nothing to accept him as the way he was because he's a brony. What's wrong with that? It's just the way Michael was.
Yeah, no, I mean,
and still is. You have to understand. It's very hard for me. I'm sorry. It's just really hard for me. I try not to use wordage I don't want to use anything past tense. It's hard when a doctor tells you that he's not going to be the same child that he was before if and when he wakes up. And it's hard not to let yourself slip sometimes and say, he was this or he was that. And I don't mean to do that. He is. I still have to believe that even if he can't express it through words or physical acts or emotion, he is still the same wonderful, loving, magical child that he's always been and always will be.
Yeah. Well, and I guess then, have you guys had any updates as to what how he's doing?
On Tuesday, we met with the surgeon that came in, and they are, if everything goes as planned, on Tuesday we will be able to do a tracheotomy and the gastric feeding tube. The problem with Michael right now with the breathing apparatus that's in, he has a tube in to help him breathe still because he's not showing the muscular strength or the neurological strength, not neurological strength, but the neurological ability to swallow completely. He's still choking on his own saliva at this point, and they still have to suction out his breathing tube rather regularly, and whenever they do, his body responds in a very violent, jerky motion. His eyes will flutter, and you want to just look at him and just come on, just open him up a little bit farther, just wake up, just do something to let us know that you're here. And it's hard because you see this motion and this movement that you want to believe is cognitive, proof that he's there, and then it goes away. And you're just left with this sense of hope, but also the reality of knowing what the medical, diagnosis is, which is we don't know. We can tell you what we've seen in, 90% of these cases, but there's always that slim chance that something else will happen. But on Tuesday is when we're going to put the feeding tube in and do the tracheotomy. Once he has had the tracheotomy and recovered from that, then they will be able to start doing some rehab as far as range of motion therapy, sending people in to move his arms, his legs, to try to get his muscles working again. But as of now, he still has not shown us indefinitely that he has woken up, so to say. He is still, even though his eyes may open partially and, he sticks his tongue out or he will wiggle his toes, it's still very basic neurological movement, no proof of, that he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. We look at it and we're like, that's good. He wiggled his toes. That's good. And we're holding on to that hope. And the doctors aren't telling us that it's bad, but they're just telling us that, this is common. And they don't like the fact that when they suction out the breathing tube, his whole body kind of jerks up. So they're hoping that that's not a sign of something else that would be more, damaging neurologically speaking. But there is also the hope. It's a very slim one, but there's the hope too that since his brain will continue to grow, that it may cut new neurological pathways around the damaged tissue, but there's no guarantee in that. Then the part of his brain that they know is severely damaged right now from the MRI is there is a very good chance when and if he wakes up, he will be blind.
Mm.
The part of the brain that controls sight has been severely damaged beyond repair.
But it sounds like, that there's a lot of hope there that in many respects, he could pull through this.
Exactly. And he's, and I truly believe that he will, and the question at this point is we just don't know in what capacity. But it doesn't matter because no matter what capacity he comes through in, he will still be, biological or not, he's still going to be my son. He's still going to be one of our boys. And he's still going to be a very important part of our family. And nothing will ever change that. The ability to speak, the ability to see, the ability to walk. I don't care if I have to change, work with the feeding tube and change his diaper from now until the time I pass away. Mm-hmm. I'll be the proudest person ever to change a diaper on a grown man you've ever seen. Because he's my son, and nothing will change that. And he is my stepson, but like I said, I see him as one of my own children, and I want to be there for him to continue to give him whatever quality of life we can. And we want it to be a really good quality of life based on how and what condition he's in, a year from now, 2 years from now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, all the best in terms of, I think it's reassuring to hear that, that there is that hope that,
There is.
But I do want to kind of go back a little bit and maybe talk a bit about what led up to this incident.
Yes.
Publicly, the information that's out there is that he was bullied for being a brony.
Yes.
And I wanted to know and I don't know how much you knew about what was going on, but could you kind of detail what sorts of bullying he was undergoing? Because obviously it pushed him very far.
Well, and the problem with Michael, not problem, but the problem with the teachers and the counselors in regards to Michael is that he was not your typical child that you would see when it comes to, what they look for in a normal case of bullying. There's certain red flags that teachers are taught to look for, change in appetite, change in, behavior, are the things that interested them before no longer interesting to them? Are they hanging out with a different group of friends than before? There's all these, things that they're taught to look for, but Michael never showed any of those signs, because if someone was ugly with him or called him a name or he would turn his personality up to 11 and go out of his way to show them love and compassion, to try to turn them almost. It's like he wanted them to know that, hey, it's okay for me to be different. You don't have to be afraid of that. And so, he had conversations with his mom where he had expressed concern over, the main bullying that he got was people telling him that because he was a boy and he liked My Little Pony, that made him gay. That, you can't like a girl's TV show, that's gay. You're a brony, what the heck's a brony? Oh, that's stupid, you're gay. And Michael was kind of confused by that, because he's like, I don't understand why liking a TV show needs to have that, stereotype on it. And we told him, we're like, look, we want you to be if you want to be a brony, we're behind you. We love the fact that you're a brony. He would wear his brony shirt to school, his brony bracelet, his brony lanyard, his brony, he had a brony necklace, everything you could possibly imagine. He started getting the brony dog tags that he was wearing. So it was very obvious that he was a brony to everyone in school, and he was not afraid to talk to anyone and everyone. I mean, that kid never knew what a stranger was. And the first thing that you would learn about him in talking with him for the first couple minutes is he loves Lindsey Sterling, he's very hyper, he's a brony, and his favorite one is Pinkie Pie. I mean, that's like, that's just this basic introduction. Hi, I'm Michael, I'm a brony, I love Pinkie Pie, and I love Lindsey Sterling. That's just the way he was and is, and he had talked to his mom about it and, was kind of confused about why he should be made to feel ashamed of that. And, she told him, look, it doesn't matter, gay, straight, bi, whatever you feel it is that you choose, we're going to love and support you regardless. And no one should make you feel ashamed of, no one should make you feel ashamed of something that you're not even sure of yourself. But if you want to be a brony, then you're a brony. But you've got to understand that, we tried to explain it to him in the best way we could to an 11-year-old boy, that when you're throw something in someone's face like that every day, where you walk around with that much pride to be something, if it's something that people don't understand, whether it's a brony or a Star Wars fan, there's going to be those people that are going to point you out and are going to pick you out of the crowd because they feel bad about themselves, and they end up taking out their anger on you because you're an easy target by showing people how much you love this thing that may not be the social norm for a boy your age in the group of people that you're around. So that was the bullying that he was getting was mainly focused around that, was being told that he was stupid for being a brony, that he couldn't, he was a boy, he's not supposed to like My Little Pony, and it may, that's gay if you're a brony. But Michael just didn't let it bother him. He, like I said, he went out of his way to make those kids and the teachers and everyone that would see this, they think that, it's like it took us by surprise because Michael was always so loving and got along with everybody. And I'm like, of course he did. He was overcompensating for the bullying and the hate and stupidity that they were, throwing out there. But that was the thing, is that Michael, he wasn't your typical child when it comes to bullying. You know, he wasn't the one that you see getting pushed in the corner. He wasn't the one that, you know, you see getting, you know, picked on by the same kids all the time, because Michael didn't let it get to him. He, you know, took it in and tried to make something, you know, great out of it, where he could, you know, where he could share, you know, the love and compassion that he had for everyone else. You know, and that's the thing, is that he didn't let the bullies get away with it. It's almost like he was bully-proof to the people that were on the outside looking at him, because all they saw was a boy that loved everyone equally and went out of his way to, you know, say hi to the same kids every day. And Michael had a very strong faith in Jesus as well. He asked us if he could start taking confirmation classes in the Garner United Methodist Church. And I remember the first night he came home from confirmation class, our associate pastor had given him a pocket version of the New Testament. And you would have thought that that kid had the map to Hogwarts in his back pocket. He was the most exciting thing ever for him to hold that in his hand. And his teachers had told us that, you know, he'd been reading Bible verses at lunch out loud. And, you know, there were certain kids that he would read Bible verses to again and again. And I kind of had to have that talk with him where I'm like, Michael, you know, it's great. And inside I'm like, you're amazing. On the outside, I'm like, Michael, you know, if someone tells you in a public school setting, especially a teacher, if they're not comfortable with you saying something like that to them, you know, you have to be respectful of their wishes in a public setting, and you need to put it away. Doesn't mean you need to be ashamed of it, but you can't force it on someone like that. And he looked at me, I'll never forget this, with like the most confused look in his eyes. And he's like, why would someone not want to hear this? That was his response, was he had such an amazing blind faith in the concepts that he was learning that he took them to be just universal law. You know, turn the other cheek, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, show compassion and love for the people that have never been shown it before.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to get to what led up then to well, this incident. You know, was there a specific event that you believe led to this?
I wish I could say that there was, you know, one specific thing that led to this, but the problem is that, you know, Michael never really let us know if there was one particular thing that upset him more than others. The only change in his personality or his behavior or his routine that we had picked up on is that he had started asking to come home on the school bus instead of going to the Boys and Girls Club, which is where he usually went after school. Now, the problem with that is that it was, you know, not too long after Christmas, and he had gotten a new tablet and some new video games for Christmas. We have one TV in the house. So, you know, there was always talk about the kids going back and forth fighting about whose turn it was to play Xbox. You know, it's my turn to watch Netflix, or you already watched your show, now it's my turn. So we just thought that, you know what, he's probably wanting to come home instead of going to the Boys and Girls Club because he wants some TV time without having to, you know, schedule it around anyone else. And when he, you know, I work, you know, from home. So if I needed to rearrange my schedule, I could, and that way I'm home when he gets off the bus, because one of us has to be there for him to ride the bus home. And he would come in, he would say, hey, Shannon, you know, be upbeat, positive as always, and would sit down and start playing on his tablet or, you know, asking if he could play his video game, and that was it. There was no sign of, you know, anything that was wrong other than he started asking to come home instead of going to the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, there was I want to ask about this because I know there have been some questions behind the scenes about this.
Yes.
There was a Facebook post that was dredged up that said...
Yes, it wasn't dredged up. I can tell you exactly where it came from.
Okay.
And that was my ex-wife, Stacey Suttle, that made that post. And she had the best intentions in mind. Stacey has been extremely overly emotional with this. Stacey was referring to what happened on Thursday night. Angel turned 13 this Friday. So you've got a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, an autistic 9-year-old, and a 5-year-old, all in the same house with one TV. You know, everybody's got their own Xbox controller, but you've got one TV, 2 tablets, and that's it. There's no desktop computer. There's nowhere for them to go to watch or play what they want to play. And Xavier is a very clean child. Like, he can't stand to have, you know, anything on his hands. He can't stand to get dirty or anything like that. He always, like, you know, like, I've got to clean it now. And I think Michael had accidentally knocked over some juice on some papers of Xavier, so he got upset, and then Michael got upset that he was, felt like he was overreacting to that. And then there was, the whole, like, well, it's my turn to watch TV. No, it's your turn to watch TV. And so they had a fight that night, but you know what? So did a billion other brothers and sisters around the world that are a year or two apart in age. The fight they had that night was nothing more than they had before. Siblings fight. That's, basic laws of nature. I'm 4 years older than my sister, and we still fight, but it wasn't anything out of the norm. There was nothing that pushed it to the extreme, and Stacy was just trying to relay what she had heard from us to get it out there to her Facebook friends, because she knows a lot of the people that follow her Facebook are Doctor Who fans, are also comic book fans, or Star Wars fans, Star Trek fans. She knew that they would connect with the Brony community, or possibly already know some people in the Brony community, so she just wanted to do her best to reach out there for us.
Sure.
Yes, her wording was, poorly written, and she has apologized for that to the point where she's like, I feel like she's been severely depressed about it. She is horribly upset at the way she worded things. She never meant for it to be taken in that context. What she was just relaying what she knew. Michael came home that day. Angel had to ride the bus home that day as well, because I had to take Tiffany's van to go to work because the tires on the front of my car were going bad. So I took the van, which means the boys all had to come home. I left to go to work. Michael and Angel had a fight, and then Michael went to his room, and then the incident happened. So, yes, Stacy was right, but in no way was that fight any different than, like I said, the billions of other fights that took place that night between a bunch of other brothers and sisters similar in age.
Yeah. No, I think anybody who has a sibling has had their fair share of, I know from
and you've also got to understand that, we're not your typical family. We are a very, atypical dynamic. We've got an autistic child that's mine. So, you've got the stepbrother, and they do so well with Ethan. It's unbelievable the amount of patience and support they show for him. But there's times where they get frustrated over his behaviors as well. And, you mix that in with, kids getting ready to go through puberty, peer pressure, trying to find their own style. I mean, especially when Michael and Angel started going to the same school. The one year where Michael was in, 5th grade at the elementary school and Angel was at 6th grade at the middle school, that was Angel's golden year. He could kind of carve out his own friends, his own personality, his own routine. And then Michael comes to that middle school and it's like, oh, now my little brother's here. It's not that he didn't like his little brother. No, they were great together. But it's, like I said, it's basic sibling rivalry that everyone has. If Michael likes baseball, all of a sudden Angel's better at it than he is. Or, if Michael goes outside and says, oh man, it's cold, Angel's got to say, no, it's warm today. It happens with everybody.
That's a typical brother dynamic. I can say my brothers and I the same thing.
Stacy is part of this, weird family that we have, because, we realized a long time ago that we're not meant to be together, but we make great co-parents. And she's been trying really hard to work with Tiffany as well, and Tiffany's been trying really hard to open up to her. So there's, a lot of tension there that, is to be expected, and so Stacy was trying in the best way she could to help us and to reach out for us, because she was heartbroken by this. She loved Michael. Her and Michael got along better than her and Angel did or anybody else did. They just kind of connected in some way. I remember the favorite thing that he did with Stacy was we took them to Dark Side Estates, which is a haunted attraction here in North Carolina. And the year 2 years before, when I took Stacy with our son Ethan, one of the actors overheard Ethan say his mom's name, because Ethan has a hard time remembering it's not Stacy, it's mom. It's not Shannon, it's dad. He sometimes calls us by our first names, not meaning to. It's not a sign of disrespect. He just, gets confused. And one of the actors overheard him say Stacy, so they started following behind her, going, Stacy, and it flipped her out. She was just like, oh, she couldn't take it. She started getting really afraid, and it was hilarious because she was, screaming and laughing, and Ethan was laughing, and so Michael heard about that, and so, of course, Michael had to do the same thing. He was running up to everybody at Dark Side of States that night going, hey, that's Stacy behind me. That's Miss Stacy behind me. And having everybody call her by name. He would go a few feet in front of us and hide in the shadows and wait till Stacy came by and like run the back of her neck with a tree branch. Just anything he could to get her to jump and, scream. He loved Stacy and Stacy loves him. She had a really big place in her heart and still does for all of our kids. She calls them her bonus kids. She loves all of them. Her words were never meant to be taken as a literal chain of events. But I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Yes, there was a fight that night. But like I said, there were a billion other fights all over the world with, a billion other brothers and sisters. So no, there was no particular fight that led to Michael doing what he did. Michael had a very unfortunate, impulsive moment where he thought that his life was not worth living, which we all know to not be true. But in that moment, he made a very, regrettable decision. And all we can do is move forward. And it really does hurt me that someone would take Stacy's, lack of literal explanation when she's just trying to get a Facebook post out there as fast as she can and still be respectful of the people involved. She didn't know how to choose her words. She put a post up that she wanted to do good, and people had to take that and post negatively. I have filed a police report against the person with the handle offensive person, because he's the first one that I'm aware of that posted the comment on Red Management's Facebook so that we couldn't delete it. It would show up under Michael's in the comments, but we couldn't delete it off of Michael, off of our page because it wasn't posted to Michael's page. And it said that, Michael tried to kill himself because of a fight with his brother Angel. And as soon as I contacted Red Management, because they've been in constant contact with me since this happened, they took it down and blocked anything that did, that had anything to do with that person.
And I should clarify for the audience too that Red Management is.
Red Management is. Yeah, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say for the audience that Red Management is one of the talent agencies in Vancouver that represents a lot of the different voices for My Little Pony, including Andrea Libman, who is Pinkie Pie's voice.
Yes, and I have to tell you, Andrea Libman, when I called Red Management Friday morning, just on the hopeful whim of a heartbroken parent, and my message to him was, I don't expect you to be able to call me back. I don't even know if this is the right person, but if you can carve 15 minutes out of your day today to talk to me, this is what's happened. If Andrea Libman could just send a message, a voicemail, something in the voice of Pinkie Pie to just say, Michael, get better. Or that, Michael, you are loved. And he contacted me 20 minutes later from his cell phone on the way into the office. And within, I think it was a few hours at most, he contacted Andrea Libman, who was on vacation in South Australia at the time, and she moved around until she could get a Wi-Fi signal strong enough to record a message right then and send it to him so we could play it for Michael while he was hooked up to an EEG to see if there was any spike in activity. And the fact that she did that was just, it melted my heart.
They're both amazing people. I've worked with them in the past on other things, and yeah.
And all the other, and a lot of the other cast members, all of the ones that have been able to, have been sending messages in their characters' voices for Michael. We've got messages from Big Macintosh, from Pinkie Pie, Twilight Sparkle, all of these Princess Celestia that's have called and left these beautiful messages that we can keep playing for Michael. One of the actors, and I'm sorry that I can't remember the name, I've got so many notes written everywhere. She actually found a book of Winnie the Pooh poems and stories that her father read to her, and she left us a voicemail of her reading her favorite Winnie the Pooh stories that she remembered reading as a child for me to play to Michael so that he could hear something sweet and encouraging while he's lying there. And the messages have just been so amazing. There was one that was very, very sweet that said, Michael, what are you doing here? Oh, why are you in this field? Oh, I see. You're sleeping. Well, that's okay. You can sleep. But when you're ready to wake up, I want you to picture your toes, and then your legs, and your calves, and then your hooves, and then feel the grass underneath your hooves as you
get ready, and you run and you play, and we're all there for you, Michael, and we can't wait to see you and meet you. And, oh, you're sleepy again. Well, that's okay. You rest. I mean, it was just the most beautiful, unbelievable message. It was like just subliminal encouragement while he's lying there to just tell him, just try to move your toes, visualize this happening. And it's just unbelievable, the love and support they've shown for us and continue to show for us.
Well, you've gotten a lot of outpouring of support from like the entire Brony community too.
Yeah.
I think the only danger with the internet is that there are a lot of people who like to lob, baseless accusations and come up with conspiracy theories. And I guess maybe, well, I was just going to say, maybe just, since we have the opportunity here, are there any kind of rumors or stuff that you would like to dispel?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to understand something. If you're a parent, or if you're a sibling, or if you even just think of your best friend in this situation, and imagine yourself being the one that's responsible for them 100%. And someone calls you and says, we want to help. We know you're overwhelmed right now. What can we do? This is what we want to do. I had people calling and texting me, and I'm like, I love you all, but I've got to be here to take care of my son. Within those first 24 to 48 hours, there was a point where the doctors gathered us all around and said, if there's anyone that you want to see Michael, now is the time to do it, because there's a good chance that he is going to die. And we didn't know what to do. So I've got all these people that are, working with me and trying to help us, and I didn't know what to do. I just said, look, here's my email address. I'm pretty sure it's still attached to a PayPal account that I've had for a couple years, but I haven't used it for anything in a long time. Just see if it works, and if it does, great. If not, then we'll figure out something. I was just in a hurry. And it wasn't until after a couple of the donations started coming through, I got an email from someone that said, I just donated $10 to what I thought went to a sick child, and it turns out that, it looks like this is a business account for something called Rakish Deviance Trading Company. I want to know where my money's going towards. And he filed, action with PayPal, where it came up as, him asking for a refund if I couldn't resolve the issue. And it was at that point that my memory kicked in, and I went, oh man, I changed that to a business account like 4 years ago when I was selling jewelry part-time. When I would go to some of the pirate conventions I'd go to, there were people that would want to buy necklaces and rings from me or pendants that I made, and they wouldn't have any cash. They said, well, can we pay you through PayPal? I said, sure. And I tried to set up an Etsy shop at one point, and I thought that, maybe I can turn this into kind of a small business and work from home. And, of course, a couple days later, I realized that that wasn't going to be reality for me because I had bills to pay. But I'd forgotten that that was a PayPal account. I didn't even realize that people were going to get a message back that said, thank you for, your purchase from Rakish Deviance Trading Company. So I went on and I changed the name from Rakish Deviance Trading Company to the Michael Morones, Recovery Fund. It wasn't any, move to kind of confuse people, or it wasn't any trickery on my part. It was an honest mistake where I just was so distraught over everything that was happening. I forgot that it was a business account. That's all. Yeah. There was nothing that was meant to be, underhanded about it. That's all it was. It was a heated moment. I've got too much to take care of with Michael right now. I understand you want to help. I love you for that. Take this, go with it. And they did, and they made amazing things happen with it. I've been in contact with PayPal asking if I can change it back to a personal account or what I can do with that. They said right now that would cause, it would cause it to be flagged again. So I had to verify my social and my legal name and my legal address. I had to send them a copy of my driver's license and a pay stub or a social security card. So I've done all that process. I'm meeting with a group of financial attorneys and legal attorneys on Monday that are going to help me, continue to do this ethically and morally the right way and legally the right way. We're looking at setting up a special needs trust for Michael. I'm looking at taking my ultimate dream in all of this is to take the generosity and support the community has shown us and make it into something similar to a foundation where I will be able to continue to give back every month to other charities as well. The brain injury, Association of America, the Ronald McDonald House for the rooms they provided there at the hospital, any other charities, the one that the, BronyCon has, anything that will help this not happen to another child. And I'd also love to be able to take Michael's message of forgiveness and use what little bit of pull I have in the, entertainment community, which isn't much. If you had to go down the alphabet, I'm probably a W list actor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even an A, B, C, or D actor. I'm by no means do I have any sense of inflated. I don't even think of the word is because I'm just so lost sometimes. But you understand what I'm trying to say. I have no ego when it comes to that. But if I can take the little bit of notoriety I have as Captain Scurvy in the Shadow Players and Blackbeard the Pirate for the different, lecturing engagements that I get hired for from time to time, I want to turn those into anti-bullying campaigns. I want to set up a foundation that goes off of Michael's faith and Michael's love and his forgiveness, and make people realize that the tools we have in place right now are not working. Re-educate our educators. There's so much anti-bullying that is, it's punishable by a criminal offense. We're criminalizing the peers of young children and then posting pictures up in the school that say, if you see something, say something. Well, now you're not tattling on your classmate, you're tattling on a criminal. And what do we teach children about criminals? Well, criminals aren't to be trusted. They'll come after you. They'll break into your house and hurt you, or they'll steal from you. They're not going to want a criminal on their bad side. They're too scared to say anything now. So we've kind of defeated the whole message that we tried to say in the first place.
Mm.
And, that's the stuff that I want to change. And there have been people that have said, they're wondering why they haven't gotten a response or a thank you in an email from where they're donating to. Like, how do we know that these are even being received by the right person? How do we know that these are even being read? How do I know if I write a message to Michael that he's actually getting it? I don't care if it takes me from now until the day I take my last breath. I will answer every single one of these with a personal message. I have over 998 messages in my inbox right now that are just notifications from PayPal alone, that have people's email addresses attached to it, where every time I hit reply, I have to find a corner somewhere to think of what I want to say to this person, to make it unique and heartfelt so that they know that, yes, they are reaching Michael. Yes, they are reaching his family.
Yeah.
We don't have a place to live right now. We had to give up our home. We rent. We don't own the home in Zebulon, but I can't ask my wife to take her kids and go back, and every night that she goes to put the kids to bed, step into the room where this happened. I cannot ask her to relive that. So I told our landlord that we were going to have to move out. Now, my mother lives in Garner, and she's been kind enough to tell us that we can stay with her for as long as we need. But, she doesn't have that large of a house, and I've got a family of 5. And the chances of us finding a home that are already medically equipped for all the things that we're going to need for Michael, wider doorways, wheelchair ramps, guardrails, special beds, soft floors, all the things that we could need. I hope we won't, but the reality is there's going to be a lot of things we're going to have to do. What are the chances of us finding a house like that for rent? 1 in a billion, unless we get lucky and find a house that, a older senior citizen couple or invalid couple lives in. And even then, there's going to be changes that have to be made. And what type of home is that to put the other 3 kids in? It's like, oh, hey, Angel, here's your new bedroom. It belongs to a, 80-year-old grandma before you. Sorry. Angel's a 13-year-old boy. He's not going to want to stay in a room like that. He would for his brother. But, is that really fair to them? And again, that's a minor detail in the long run of things we have to worry about. But, as a provider and as someone that's here going, I have to take care of my family, that was a huge decision for me to make with my wife to go, we're going to give up our place of residence where we live. Where are we going to go? We're in the hospital for at least another month at minimal. So what happens when they discharge us? We technically have no real home. We have no real address. We're putting our faith in the community, both nationally and locally, with the contacts we have through the church and everything else, that God will provide a way for us, because Michael had that type of faith. And we have to believe in the positive energy and good thoughts and wishes that people are giving us, where they're wanting to help us day in and day out. There will be a place for us to go to. It might not be the biggest place in the world, might not be what we want. There may be a lot of changes we have to make to it in the long run, but I truly believe that a place will be provided for us. And it wouldn't be that way if it wasn't for the generosity of the community. So again, there is nothing underhanded about this. Yes, your donations are going directly to taking care of not only Michael's medical expenses and, the expenses that we're incurring with the rest of our family with this, but they're also going to create a miracle out of something so tragic. My dream is that everyone that gives to this will get back tenfold by us paying it forward in a way that will educate the world into making bullying something that no child will have to suffer through again, and God forbid end up in the situation that we are in. And just to prove my point, if anyone wonders about, well, how do we know that you're serious about this, or how do we know that, we can believe that, well, I think the tools that we have in place are fine. WRAL News posted, they have an article in their archives from 15 years ago of the same school that Michael's in now, where a child hung himself in the gymnasium and committed suicide. And the teachers are saying the same thing about that child that they're saying about Michael now. So don't tell me that Michael wasn't bullied, because this child was bullied as well, or they actually don't know why this child, tried to kill himself. They know that he was a little bit different like Michael, and the teachers are saying the same thing then that they said now, like, we had no idea, this has taken us by shock. It was the last kid that we would expect this to happen to. So obviously nothing's changed in 14 years. How can we expect it to change now without action? Yeah. But let me say, as a parent to everyone, my first goal right now is always going to be the welfare of my son and the protection of my family. And yes, there are going to be people out there that are going to attack us and are going to, ridicule us and are going to try to take advantage of us. And you know what? Let them. We will forgive them. We will show them the same love and compassion that Michael showed the people that bullied him. And hopefully, if we show them the love and compassion they've never known in their life before, hopefully they can turn around and realize that they don't have to act that way to get attention, or they don't have to act that way to make themselves feel like they're better than someone else. Well, I know that being in the public eye like this is going to make us a target. And all I can tell people is have faith, because my faith in humanity has been restored with this, more than I can count. There isn't a number that can describe how I feel.
Well, and I wanted to ask, obviously you have a social message you like to convey, that you're trying to convey here. Aside from donating, is there anything else you'd like the community to do?
Absolutely. Send us cards like you've been doing. Send us your artwork. Send us messages. Keep posting the messages on Michael's Facebook so that we can keep reading those to him at night. We take shifts sleeping where, one person is resting at night and there's always someone that's up by Michael's side, and we read him these messages. So we don't know if he can hear them or not, but we know that we're there we have to believe that he can on some level know what's happening, and we want him to know that he's loved and that he is special and that friendship really is magic. And that's all we can ask for, is to just keep us in your prayers. And if you can't donate, that's fine. There's more to wealth than money. Obviously, we have to be realistic. The financial costs of this, yes, are going to be astronomical. But there's other things that people can do for us to help give Michael a quality of life that we would have never been able to provide for him if it wasn't for the community. And, show him that he's loved. Show him that he's special. Show him that being a brony is nothing to be ashamed of. And please do not go after anyone that posts something negative. Do not go after bullies. Stop posting messages on Michael's Facebook or my family's Facebook or my Facebook that say, where are the kids that did this? Why haven't they been brought to justice? It's not the kids that need to be punished. Yes, they need to know that their words have actions, but it needs to be done in a loving and caring manner so that we can prevent this from being something that we continue to teach other kids in our society. And if there's people that don't know what they can do besides that, Michael's a huge pirate fan. He loved going to festivals with me. I plan on taking his message outside of the brony community into the pirate community as well. And I know a lot of the brony community also know people in the cosplay community and costume community. Michael always wanted to have a pirate kit because there's certain areas in the festival that he can't go unless they're, in costume like myself. You know what? Put kits together for the other brothers too. If somebody wants to know what they can do and it's not something financial and you've got some spare fabric and some talent, make them a pirate shirt. Make them a pirate waistcoat. Make his little brother something that they can wear when they go to festivals. My son, Ethan, is a huge Star Wars fan. And the 501st has reached out to us, and other Star Wars groups have reached out to us. Michael was getting into Star Wars because of Ethan's love for it, because it was a way for them to communicate. I had someone ask me if we would be okay with someone making Ethan a set of stormtrooper armor and making Michael one to match so that they could have that to wear together when Michael pulls through this. And little things like that mean the world to us as well. You know, everything from a prayer. There was a girl in Mexico that didn't have any money that sent me an email, and she said, I don't have any money to give, so instead I baked these vanilla cupcakes, and they had little Pinkie Pie topper on it, and she said she was going to go hand them out in her village for free in exchange for prayers and well thoughts for Michael. And this was a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And that's what we need. Yes, if we could go back, I don't know what I would do. I mean, this is a huge responsibility with everything that everyone has shown us, and I can promise you it will be handled the way it needs to be handled, and it will continue to be handled, and the money that you give will continue to do amazing things in and outside of our community to hopefully put an end to this forever. And if you don't have money, that's fine. You know, send a message, send a card, send a drawing. You know, make something for him that we can put by his bedside. Help us take care of his other brothers as well. His youngest brother is 5 and saw Michael when his mother went into the room. His oldest brother, Angel, had to see his brother in that condition. You know, they're scared. Mm-hmm. My son is scared. He's seen Michael in the hospital. He wasn't in the house, thankfully, because being autistic, he processes things like this on a different mental level than others. We don't know how he's processing this. He asked my ex-wife on the way up to the stairs one night. He turned around. He said, "Mommy, if the doctors can't fix Michael, will he be with God?" And it was the first complete sentence in that type of social context that I think he's ever spoken. And she looked at him and she said, "Ethan, yes, he'll be with God. He'll be with your cat Mojo that passed on, your great grandma. He'll be there, and he'll be, you know, in good hands." And Ethan kind of looked confused for a second, and then he turned back around and he goes, "Mommy, it makes Ethan happy to know that Michael would be with God. Does it make Mommy happy?" And Stacy just started crying, and she goes, "Of course it makes Mommy happy." And then he just kind of, that light went out of his eyes for a minute, and he went, "Okay, I love you. Mwah, night-nights," which is what he says to me every night when he calls. It's what he says to anyone when they say, "Ethan, it's time for bed," because he's a very routinely structured child being autistic. So it's like he had that moment of clarity where he's like, if the doctors can't fix Michael, it's okay because Michael will be with God. And God loves him, and Michael loves God. And Ethan was comforted by that. And then it was gone, and Ethan was back to his normal self. And that same person that sat there and had that conversation with Ethan and was touched by what Ethan said to tears is the same person that people are trying to use as a scapegoat for the negativity that people used to, you know, put doubt in everyone's mind about what we're doing.
Well, I think that, you know, that us having this conversation right now is going to go a long way towards, you know, assuaging any kind of odd concerns. And that's really in the end kind of one of those dangers of anything online, is that it always is subject to excessive scrutiny and all sorts of conspiracy, you know.
Yes, and I've never doubted, and I know that we're going to be a target, and I know that we're going to be a continued target, and I know that there's going to be steps that I have to take to protect my family from the, you know, it may be 1 in 1,000, but there's always going to be that one person that, you know, looks to target us because we're being made more publicly aware of our situation. And, you know, and like I said, if there's any miracle that could come out of something so tragic, it would be for us to take the continued support and generosity that people are showing us and use that to give back to the community for my life, my son's life, his son's life, create something that can be more than a legacy, that can be a world-changing force to end bullying through re-education and love and compassion. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've given items of my own. I don't have much. I don't do much. You know, I mean, I make a little make jewelry on the side. I, you know, perform as a pirate in a stage combat group, and I run a entertainment business where I sell trivia shows to bars and restaurants. I don't really have a lot of stuff to give, but I sent a box of jewelry that I made to the people in charge of the live stream and the fundraiser and said, you know what, just draw a bunch of names out of a hat, or just take what you want out of this for yourselves and give the rest to other people. It's not much, but it's a way to say thank you.
Yeah.
You know, so we're not just taking and not, you know, doing that. I mean, I stay up all night long just doing nothing but answering emails so that I can send a message to everyone that gives personally. I've given, you know, items that I've made myself to people to give out to others. You know, we're looking through Michael's tablet tonight now that we finally were able to unlock it. And, you know, looking through his backpack that we found in his room to see if there's any drawings or anything that he had made where we might be able to share that with people. You know, we're looking to share and to give back as fast as we can, but it's overwhelming with all of the medical issues and the doctors and anything can change at any second, that we have to concentrate on our son. And I just hope that people will have the love and the understanding that if I don't answer your email within, you know, the first 5 minutes that you send it, or the first day, or the first 2 days, please understand the only reason that I'm not is so I don't have to send you some, you know, broiler message that's a cut and paste so you feel like this is coming from a faceless entity.
Yeah.
I want people to know that it's personal, and it is. And we are so much, I mean, we're just overwhelmed. I mean, my wife is not one for public speaking. She's a rather quiet person, and she, you know, is a very, you know, reserved person when it comes to being in the public. And she's like, you know what, I need to get over my fear of public speaking sooner than later, because I'm getting angry and need to let people know about this in a way that's not going to continue to be negative.
Well, I think, honestly, I think overwhelmingly, it's always the case with anything, especially online, that, you know,
Yeah.
the angry voices, they're always fewer but louder. I think the overwhelming, you know, consensus among the community, and I think you've probably seen this through your donations that you've been getting, et cetera, has been very positive and supportive. And I would just say on my part, and, you know, on the part of a lot of people I've spoken to, that I think that your openness about what's happened, and, you know, your willingness to share, you know, really this tragedy with everyone, I think it's going to go a very long way towards reassuring any kind of doubts, but also towards doing exactly what you've been saying that you want to do, which is really pushing for a societal change against bullying. And really, in a sense, it's almost ironic that there are online bullies attacking an anti-bully campaign.
There is, and that was my first thought, was when the same person that posted the, you know, Michael tried to kill himself because of his brother Angel post on Red's Facebook, that same person 20 minutes later took a screenshot of Tara Strong's comment on her Facebook that she used asking people to go to the GoFundMe site for Michael, the one of him lying in the hospital bed. We had shared that photo with Tara personally through Twitter, and we, you know, and she was acting with a huge heart to put that on her Facebook, you know, and we were trying to, at that point in time, to keep as many of those pictures out of the eye of the children that were following at his school, to their parents' Facebooks or their own online accounts. We didn't want to scare anyone, you know. Yeah. We didn't want, you know, there's so many minors involved in this. We were trying to protect everyone. He took that snapshot of something good that Tara tried to do, and then underneath it, he cropped another picture of a guy with his hand around a girl's shoulder, almost touching her shoulder, but not really, and he did a close-up of that hand, and then he posted it on something called iFunnyMobi, and the tagline underneath it said something like, "So close yet so far."
Some people some people are just bad people. I think that's.
But it was 20 minutes within of us taking the post down on Facebook. He went somewhere else and did that, and it was the same person with the same username. So yeah, it is sadly ironic, horribly ironic, that we're being cyberbullied for our child being in the condition he's in because of real-life bullies.
Yeah, I think so. I honestly do think that that's the vast minority, and that really, right. I mean, there's no way out there that in any kind of situation, there's always going to be, you know, one stinker there, right? There's always going to be one person who right. is like that, and
right.
I guess I would just say, you know, for whatever it's worth, I would just take heart and know that is really the vast minority, and that as a community, we're much more positive and supportive than that. And I think, you know, really with the traction you've been gaining, I really do believe that you're right, that there is a very good chance that you can take this tragedy and turn it into something, you know, socially constructive and positive. Really, I do believe.
And that's our ultimate goal in all of this.
Well, I really want to thank you for spending the time to speak with me about this. I mean, this is going to go a very long way to, to really help people understand what's going on. And I guess really before I close this out, I want to know, is there a better way or the best way for people to contact you if they do want to show their support?
The best way for them to contact us is through the avenues that are out there. Go through the GoFundMe site. Go to Michael's Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. I'm fine with people emailing me directly. I know that sets myself up for to be in danger of getting more attacks and more not ridicule, but just more danger of cyberbullying and everything else. But you know what? That's fine. I'm confident in my faith and Michael's faith and everything that's happened, that he would want forgiveness for the people that harmed him, and I'm willing to give forgiveness to the people that have harmed us and may harm us in the future. People are welcome to email me at csuttle3@gmail.com. I'm perfectly fine with getting that information out right here.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to see
it may take me 3 or 4 days to answer you, but please, if you can't, if you post something on Facebook or Twitter or the GoFundMe site and, you have not gotten a response back from me, or you wish to reach out to us because, there was someone that wrote an article in the Star Wars community that, their daughter had been bullied for being a stormtrooper. And, Michael loved Lindsey Sterling, and she put a message in her article that she wrote that she sent to Chicago Now that said, if anyone knows a way to get in touch with Lindsey Sterling, reach out to her. Maybe she would be kind enough to play violin by Michael's bedside, and the power of her music would help his brain to heal even faster. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but, it's little things like that where people are just putting things out there into the universe, into the community, going, what if? What can we do to make things better with Michael? And, there is that rule of 6 degrees of separation, or 7 degrees, however you want to look at it. There's someone out there that knows how to get in touch with her. And if it's meant for her to, show the love and support to one of her fans, and I know that I have to believe that she would be the type of person that would do that. If people want to help us out and they don't know any way to do it, share this story with everyone that you can. Make everyone in the world know about this, and that way someone will know someone that knows someone that, can have one of Michael's idols come see him in the hospital and hold his hand and say, Michael, we need you to get better.
Yeah.
We need you to be here with us. We keep playing the messages from the ponies that say, Michael, we can't wait till you're better so we can have a party, so we can play, so we can run together. That is just as powerful as any financial donation or, spiritual or, emotional support that anyone can give us, is spread the message.
Yeah. Well, everybody, for those of you listening, all of the contacts that Shannon just described are going to be posted in the YouTube description of this, as well as on our website. So be sure to go and show your support as best you can. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that you've got a lot that you have to handle, and it's a real, it's really.
I do.
I really appreciate it.
I do, but I wouldn't be able to stand behind what I've said about this being a genuine cause and us being willing to make people know that they are reaching us. If I didn't take the time to do this, then I couldn't stand behind those words.
Well, and I think that this, if anybody has any doubts, they know how to contact you. But beyond that, I don't really. I think it's really
exactly.
It's very evident, and this has gone a long way towards explaining.
And thank you, and thank you for your help in that.
No problem. Well, everybody, Shannon is the stepdad of Michael Morones, and again, all the links are going to be below this video as well as on our website, so you can help donate or help towards towards the charitable efforts that are being done in Michael's name. Again, all of our condolences from myself and everybody from EFN, and really, I think we're all pulling for Michael, and we're all hoping that he can pull through this.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. This is Final Draft, and I'm here today with the stepfather of Michael Morones, Shannon Suttle. Hello, Shannon, and on behalf of myself and everybody at EFN, all of our condolences and sympathies towards your situation. It's just an absolute tragedy.
Well, thank you, and it's the outpouring of support, emotionally and spiritually that we've gotten from everyone inside the Brony community and other communities as well, and just all over has been unbelievable, and it makes dealing with this not easier, but it helps to kind of take a little bit of the bite out of it.
I imagine there really is no easy way to deal with this situation.
No, there's, I've had people that have asked me, what can you do about that? And I'm like, there is no user guide for a situation like this. There's no manual that you can turn to that says this is how you handle this type of situation. It's beyond words.
Yeah, I can't. I can't even imagine. I really can't. But I kind of wanted to speak with you because there have been some questions out there about more of the specifics of what happened, and so I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that, to ask these questions. And again, it's a difficult situation, but I think maybe with more public understanding of what happened, it can raise more awareness, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I kind of wanted to start on a lighter note and just ask, Michael is a brony, and I wanted to kind of know, how did he get into the fandom, really?
His uncle Jimmy is the one that's responsible for that, and we can't thank him enough. And he idolizes his uncle Jimmy, and he's the one that introduced it. Even if he can't express it through words or physical acts or emotion, he is still the same wonderful, loving, magical child that he's always been and always will be.
Yeah. Well, and I guess then, have you guys had any updates as to what how he's doing?
On Tuesday, we met with the surgeon that came in, and they are, if everything goes as planned, on Tuesday we will be able to do a tracheotomy and the gastric feeding tube. The problem with Michael right now with the breathing apparatus that's in, he has a tube in to help him breathe still, because he's not showing the muscular strength or the neurological strength, not neurological strength, but the neurological ability to swallow completely. He's still choking on his own saliva at this point, and they still have to suction out his breathing tube rather regularly, and whenever they do, his body responds in a very violent, jerking motion. His eyes will flutter, and you want to just look at him and just come on, just open him up a little bit farther, just wake up, just do something to let us know that you're here. And it's hard because you see this motion and this movement that you want to believe is cognitive, proof that he's there, and then it goes away. And you're just left with this sense of hope, but also the reality of knowing what the medical, diagnosis is, which is we don't know. We can tell you what we've seen in, 90% of these cases, but there's always that slim chance that something else will happen. But on to My Little Pony, he's the one that got him into everything, and he really connected with Pinkie Pie, especially because Michael is ADHD, and the kid can't walk a straight line to save his life without dancing, the whole time. He can never sit still, and watching Pinkie Pie, bounce around and, just as, energetic and always full of movement and, a little, talking faster than the other ponies, Michael just really associated with that one as a character because it was like watching himself. But it was watching himself around other people that accepted and appreciated the personality that he had.
Well, and when he first started getting into, My Little Pony, I mean, as a parent, did that kind of confuse you? Is that something unexpected for you?
It didn't confuse me or be unexpected to me. But again, I've only been, myself and his mother have not even been married a year yet. We'll be married a year this May. And, we were dating, for a while before we got married. But my introduction to Michael, he was already a brony when I met him. And, I come from a background of being a reenactor and entertainer. I work with a group called the Shadow Players that do pirate sword fighting and comedy skits that, we go to different festivals and school groups and functions and teach about piracy and 18th century history. And before that, I was involved with, comic books and cosplayers and costume designers. So I come from not the brony community myself, but I come from, 12, 15 years of being a comic book nerd, being someone that was picked on in, middle school and high school for being different. Tuesday is when we're going to put the feeding tube in and do the tracheotomy. Once he has had the tracheotomy and recovered from that, then they will be able to start doing some rehab as far as range of motion therapy, sending people in to move his arms, his legs, to try to get his muscles working again. But as of now, he still has not shown us indefinitely that he has woken up, so to say. he is still, even though his eyes may open partially and, he sticks his tongue out or he will wiggle his toes, it's still very basic neurological movement, no proof of, that he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. We look at it and we're like, that's good. He wiggled his toes. That's good. And we're holding on to that hope. And the doctors aren't telling us that it's bad, but they're just telling us that, this is common. And they don't like the fact that when they suction out the breathing tube, his whole body kind of jerks up. So they're hoping that that's not a sign of something else that would be more, damaging neurologically speaking. But there is also the hope. It's a very slim one, but there's the hope too that since his brain will continue to grow, that it may cut new neurological pathways around the damaged tissue, but there's no guarantee in that. Then the part of his brain that they know is severely damaged right now from the MRI is there is a very good chance when and if he wakes up, he will be blind.
Mm.
The part of the brain that controls sight has been severely damaged beyond repair.
But it sounds like, that there's a lot of hope there, that in many respects, he could...
I didn't think anything out there about Michael being a brony because I'd been in the same situation that he was in, and I accepted him because he was so proud of it. And it was... I honestly had been introduced to it by a college friend that I had ran into when I was at the Greenville Pirate Festival, that my hotel room had gotten double booked, and they were kind enough to let me stay at their house. And we watched a couple episodes that night, and this is back when the show first came out, when it had a really strong following in the beginning with college students.
Mm-hmm.
And we sat there and laughed. Forever. We're two grown men sitting there watching My Little Pony while his girlfriend's in the kitchen cleaning up from dinner, just laughing with us and kind of laughing more at us, I think, than anything, but in a good, jestful way where she's like, you guys are just nuts. But we were enjoying ourselves, and it was a way for us to bond and kind of let it all out, and we didn't have to worry about anybody judging us. But I'm also kind of accepted into that community already where people know me as a Ren geek. They know me as a pirate geek. They know me as a comic book geek. So for me, it was nothing to accept him as the way he was because he's a brony. What's wrong with that? It's just the way Michael was.
Yeah, no,
and still is. You have to understand, it's very hard for me. I'm sorry. It's just really hard for me. I try not to use wordage. I don't want to use anything past tense. It's hard when a doctor tells you that he's not going to be the same child that he was before if and when he wakes up. And it's hard not to let yourself slip sometimes and say, he was this or he was that. And I don't mean to do that. He is. I still have to believe that